Alright, so this is a review for the Robocop trilogy, obviously number 1, number 2, and number 3. And I'm just going to go ahead and compile all the movies into one review and just be done with it. First movie, I was introduced to this when I was, I'll probably say maybe 7 or 8 on a Saturday afternoon, and I caught it about halfway through the movie on local television. Obviously toned down, but I still fell in love with this movie as a kid. Kid growing up in the early 90s, I see somebody obviously looking like a toy going around and shooting up bad guys, and I thought, kick ass. And this was probably about the time that the Robocop animated series came on, because I know there were 2 of them, one that was in the 80s, and another one about the time that the third movie came out. And the third one was actually the first one, or the only one of the movies that I'd seen in the theater when I was a kid, but I'll touch upon that in a little bit. I finally went and saw this movie all the way through probably when I was 15, and being a little bit older and seeing it unedited for the first time, I was just as excited as I was when I was a kid, but even more so when I finally got to see a lot of the violence that went with it. As I got older, I kind of started figuring it out a little bit and realizing entirely that it was satirical in nature. And it's a very awesome movie. It's a simplistic plot. Guy is shot up horrendously by a gang of cop killers in a crime-ridden Detroit, taken into OCP, and is their Robocop prototype after the first failure by Ronnie Cox's character at the start of the movie. Which, by the way, that scene where ED-209 is shooting up the guy in the meeting is very hilarious. For some reason, I do find it kind of humorous that any type of situation where, like, say somebody has an animal that's going to be trained to do something, and it winds up going haywire and just attacking whoever, I find that very hilarious, and even to this day, still watching that scene, I crack up at it. He's actually the one that's responsible for hiring out these guys, not only to kill the guy that built Robocop as his competition, but also he's investing in his own little piece of the company once the old man takes over. Altogether, it's a solid action movie. This movie, like Terminator 2, which I find no plot points in whatsoever, it obviously sets up for a sequel at the end of the movie, but the ideas of that sequel were not carried out very well. And I have a lot of parts throughout this movie, particularly the first time that Peter Weller's character goes on patrol and he shoots somebody for the first time and targets his gun at a guy who's trying to rape a woman, and what happens to him is awfully horrible to watch, but at the same time is very hilarious. Then you got the guy who played Romano from ER gets covered in toxic waste, which is funny at the tail end of the movie. And I also enjoyed Kurtwood Smith in this movie. The only thing I've seen him in besides this was that 70s show where he's Topher Grace's dad, and watching him play a villain and just going to town with the role was hilarious. I highly recommend this movie to anybody that hasn't seen it. It's got 100% in my book, no complaints with it whatsoever. And also ends probably on one of the best notes that I've ever seen a movie end. Especially when Robocop takes out the bad guy at the end, is finally addressed by his name. He's got a little moment that he carried over from his old life, which I think is cool. And it certainly adds a fine balance of humor to a lot of the dark elements in this movie, which movie 2 would ruin. Robocop 2 came out 1990, and this movie actually tries to expand a little more on the cop strike that was happening in the first movie, where the cops were talking about going on strike and they finally do it. everybody's commending Robocop on doing a good job of keeping crime in the city controlled. But the problem is that they think he's not doing a good enough job alone, so they want to build a second Robocop, but all the experiments thus far have failed. A lot of this is due in part to the drug dealing that's going on around the street. And basically everybody's taking this drug which is called Nuke, and it makes you delusional. And the guy that's running this drug cult named Kane, I don't remember the name of the guy that played him, but I know that he was the Frankenstein monster in the Monster Squad. It's kind of weird to see him in that role. And basically, let's just say that this movie becomes totally dark, and Robocop winds up hurting the guy, but somebody gets the bright idea of putting his brain into an advanced robot, and it just goes completely crazy. This movie fails in a lot of stuff. It has a lot of character shifts in this movie which don't make sense, particularly the old man. And this movie earned a lot of flack, especially from Roger Ebert, because of the kid that works for Kane in this movie. He's a little bastard all throughout, and I actually didn't mind that part, but what really felt like a slap in the face to me at the end of the movie is when, after he took over the drug lord's gang and he gets killed, Robocop has a moment with him where he's trying to console him, but it comes off that we're supposed to feel sorry for that little bastard. I totally didn't buy that. Not really much good to say about this movie, except to say that the robot fight and some parts of this movie were pretty funny, but that's it. Then we come to this movie. I saw Robocop 3 in the theater as my first movie, and I was ecstatic about it when I was a kid, partially because they changed the rating up to PG-13 for this movie, but my dad liked the first couple of movies well enough to bring me along, and I remember he walked out of the theater pissed at seeing it, and I was like maybe 8 when this movie came out. But as I got older, I realized the problem with it. All three of the movies have allegories to business corruption and political stuff and all that. Here, it comes out very strongly in this movie. Now, I actually rewatched this probably a couple of months ago, and reading up on a lot of conspiracy theories and some ideals of what martial law would be like should a country decide to run or a country get run by a business, so to speak. Kind of not unlike America. I'm knocking on wood on that. This movie contains a lot of allegories in it about civil unrest and just a complete imminent collapse. And while it does have good ideas in it, they're horribly executed. Peter Weller played Robocop in the first 2 movies, but he's gone from this because he smelled bullshit. A character is killed about halfway through in this movie, and I'll go ahead and say it was Ann Lewis that was killed. Now, I wouldn't have a problem if our character being killed halfway through this movie serves purpose there towards the end, but the way it plays out at the end, I don't really buy it. This very easily could have been a good movie. The PG-13 don't really hurt it. It's like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, where the first 2 movies were R and it went to PG-13, but a lot of the lighter tones in it didn't really hurt it. Here, it's just bad writing that completely hurts this movie. There are too many one-liners they're trying to force on Robocop to make him look more like a toy to appeal to kids, and which, this did appeal to me when I was 8, but now that I'm 25, it just doesn't hold the same air with me. Bad story, bad acting all around, everything going to hell in a handbasket. I will say, though, that the cops coming out at the end of this movie and kind of taking side with the citizens against the company mercenaries was cool, but I was really pissed off with the fact that every time the humans were shooting at each other. Nobody died until Robocop showed up. But no, just avoid this movie right here because there's probably not really any more good I can say about it.